Enough is enough. I've had it with these monkey-fightin' necromorphs on this Monday to Friday ship. It's time to return to the flight deck, load up that god-forsaken marker, take it down to the planet Aegis 7 where it belongs, and shove it up the hive mind's gigantic, abominable ass.
Mr. Clark, I'm approaching the shuttle hangar. You must.
He must!
You must find your way to the cargo bay. The marker, it's being stored in there. There's a cargo loading lift there you can use to deliver the marker up to the hangar. Please, you must help me with this. It's the only way.
As you might remember, there is an entire deck devoted to cargo. That was the deck where we boarded the military vessel, the USM Valor. But that deck is devoted to holding ores and minerals mined from the chunks of planetary crust ripped off of the globe, rather than other forms of cargo such as living supplies for the mining colony. For that sort of cargo, there is a smaller cargo hold here on the flight deck, where we will find the much-discussed marker. As mentioned in the first chapter, Isaac Clarke's surname is inspired by the legendary science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke. The marker in Dead Space is one of the most noticeable homages to Arthur C., as it bears striking similarities to his most famous novel, 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was developed alongside the script of the Stanley Kubrick film of the same name. In that novel, human ancestors encounter a monolithic alien artifact which trains them telepathically to start using simple tools as a means of defending themselves and adopting an omnivorous diet which requires more strategic thinking and makes food more abundant. Then, millions of years later, astronauts discover another artifact on the moon, which further advances the civility and mental capacity of the human species. Here in Dead Space, the similarity is undeniable. The discovery of an artifact of technology far more advanced than what we humans already possess, which appears to alter man in some way, though the marker in Dead Space seems to be detrimental to human society rather than beneficial. Also, apparently the current marker, like the lunar monolith in Space Odyssey, is not the first time man encountered the object. In this sense, Dead Space could be viewed as a kind of twisted and dark reimagining of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So when I stated that the game reminds me more of a horror movie than a sci-fi Arthur C. Clarke epic, in the end, this is only true in presentation. Now, toward the end of the game, we really get to see where the inspiration blooms. Okay, so let's have a look at this famous holy relic. Just lower the magnetic crane here.
Shipment 782. Kinesis module required for further cargo transport.
And there it is. Sort of like an abstract flame sculpture, which has the appearance of having been made out of horizontal slices of some kind of maroon ceramic metal, which were then stacked on top of each other into a single form. 2001: A Space Odyssey had some characteristics common to many of Clarke's other most popular stories. Clarke had a tendency to present human beings as having mostly known technology, and having not traveled very far off of the planet Earth. He would rarely write about electrogravitic technology in a man-made craft, like that which you see on the Ishimura, opting instead to use inertia and centrifugal forces as a means of simulating gravity, And if you ever watched Space Odyssey, you'll see what I mean. The ships and space stations often have corridors and sections arranged as the outer structure of spinning wheels, where people walk with their heads pointing toward the axis. This would give the feeling of being pulled by gravity. Clarke wanted to know how most of the technology in his stories worked, and so he rarely ventured too far ahead into the future, preferring instead to present super advanced technology as that of alien beings. Now, Isaac's first name was inspired by the novelist Isaac Asimov, who wrote I, Robot, but whose most critically acclaimed work is Foundation. Very little of Asimov's most celebrated stories involved any alien technology at all. It's almost as though Asimov preferred to write about a universe where human beings are the only civilized creature in the galaxy. Such is literally the case in Asimov's Foundation, where man has built a complete galactic empire which has been around for so long that our descendants have lost all records that humanity originated from Earth. In that sense, there is a slight tie to Dead Space, as humans have already spread our civilization deep into foreign star systems, and aside from a couple of long-abandoned artifacts, we've had no reason whatsoever to presume that any technologically advanced civilization, besides our own, is likely to be encountered anytime soon. It could be equally as likely that the builders of the marker are now extinct, as it is that they are still alive, inhabiting an area of the universe far removed from ours. We still know very little about this marker. We know that it's not the first marker humans have found. We know that its discovery somehow caused the mining colonists to lose their minds and become homicidal. Dr. Kyne seems convinced that it's somehow able to control the necromorphs, though it's difficult to say at this point whether the marker is causing the necromorph infection, or the marker was built to somehow prevent the infection from spreading. Maybe the marker is a necromorph magnet that uses some kind of brainwave signal that discourages organisms from venturing too far away from it, and so by planting the thing in an infected area, necromorphs will remain there by choice. And so Kyne wants to take the marker to the planet because that's where the necromorph hive mind resides, and the hive mind, in the presence of the marker, will telepathically begin beckoning the necromorphs to return to that area and stay there. Maybe that's the reason for the psychological effects the marker has on humans. Perhaps the attractive signal which attracts the necromorphs causes hallucinations for humans. The experience of seeing and conversing with one's deceased loved ones might explain why an entire religion rose up around it.
Delivering cargo shipment 782 to the hangar bay.
The cargo lift has arrived. The marker is in the hangar bay. Now you can load it into the shuttle. Hurry!
Finally, we're almost out of here. We need but load the marker onto the shuttle, hop on board, and fly away. This marks our final visitation to the ship's tramway system, but not to use it. We're just passing through the station on our way to the docking bay so we can finally leave. From here, the tramway is quiet and unassuming, but as we have learned in our adventure into the inner workings of this undead infected spaceship, that tram leads to nightmares Isaac will be happy to leave behind. The horrors encountered upon arrival were but the tip of the iceberg, and down that tramway, deep within the halls of the USG Ishimura, waits a living hell. Now we will return to the room you should recognize as the one where we first arrived in the Ishimura in Chapter 1, and where we were tragically introduced to the necromorphs, which at the time we knew only as monsters. There's something chilling about coming back to a place that reminds us of our own ignorance. The last time we were here, the only people who were with Isaac, besides Kendra, are now all dead. And so much has happened since then that to see it as quiet as it was the first time we came aboard, there's almost a hindsight fear for our past selves, as we now understand what this death trap had in store for them. We want to warn them. We wish we could save them.
Hazardous anomaly detected. Quarantine activated.
If you'll remember, just before that quarantine began, this door was locked, and now that the quarantine is lifted, the door has unlocked. I'm quite sure that I've played through this game more than once without going through this door in this chapter. A clever trick on the part of the game designers to hide this little cookie. Well, that concludes this video. Without saying too much, I'll make you a promise. The next video is the last time we will see the inside of the Ishimura. In this game, at least.